Hello, my name is Owen. Today I'll be walking you all through a couple books I've been itching to reread. One of the major problems of my reading experience is that there are far too many books that exist in the world. My list of books that I want to read is constantly growing, and the books that I plan on reading is constantly shifting because new books come out of nowhere, and I simply have to read them. But a major problem with this is there's so many books that I've read that are so good that I'm dying so heavily to read them again. And the problem is, I'm already doing a major reread of the Malazan series, and I can't throw in another reread at the same time. I just can't. There's too many books that I have bought, that I have on my Kindle, that I just have to read. So maybe talking about a few of these books, we'll keep in mind to prioritize when I do have time for a reread, which ones I should get to, and also maybe if I talk about them, the desire will go down a little bit so that I can read books that I actually should be reading that I haven't read before. But jumping straight into it. I don't know, listen, it's just an excuse for me to talk about books that I love. Let's be honest. Stop with the pretenses. Starting off strong with Scott Lynch's The Lies of Locke Lamora. The Sunlight Glint. There we go. The Lies of Locke Lamora. For those of you that don't know this book, this is a very famous modern fantasy book that a lot of people love so much, me included. The rest of the trilogy kind of gets inconsistent reviews. I enjoyed them all. I enjoyed some more than others, but I think this one is without a doubt the strongest of the three. And the reason for that is, it is fantasy. It is a fantasy world. However, it's also a heist story. It's assembling a crew. It's putting on a job, disguises, intrigue, outsmarting your opponent. And that just itches my brain in a way that I can hardly describe. There is nothing I love more than a heist movie. There is nothing I love more than a fantasy book. You combine the two together, you get a heist fantasy novel. It really doesn't get better. And Locke Lamora is really like a Sherlock Holmes, Danny Ocean mixed together. So charming, but so elusive. God, this is such a great story. This isn't gonna work. This is not gonna work. I'm gonna have to reread these books, but I can't. I can't. Moving on. We got to move on. Tigana by Gabriel K. I talked about this book on the channel a couple times before. It is a standalone fantasy novel, which is rare, which is very rare. And I think of the standalone fantasy novels I read, Gabriel K takes the cake consistently. This one is about like what it means to like the power of a name and the power of like a memory in like a hometown of like what that means, because basically the premise is these people are from this city or this country, and they get into a war and they lose the war, and this sorcerer wipes the memory of this country, or it's either a country or like a city or a town, from the memory of everybody in existence except the people that live there. And so these people that are left alive are the only ones that remember their culture and their people and stuff like that. And it's a very interesting concept, and it's just a fascinating book. I read this like probably 4 or 5 years ago, and it hit me very hard emotionally, which is something rare for fantasy books, I think. Like usually I get like the adrenaline rush, like, oh my God, swords and dragons, this is amazing. But this one, like, it hits you somewhere like deep and spiritual, which is very special. And Gabriel K is great at that. He's really a poet, if I dare say. He's a poet. But yeah, definitely got to reread this book at some point. I also kind of want to read Lions of Alarsan too, the other book of his I read. I probably should just read more of his work instead of just rereading the 2 books that I've already read from him. But it's one of my fatal flaws. This video is highlighting, it's putting my flaws on camera, right? Come on. This next book is kind of weird, right? Because it's through Crusades by Thomas Asbridge. The strange thing about this is it's nonfiction. And I know what you're thinking. You're going to reread a nonfiction book. And trust me, I've asked myself the same question. I have never done that before in my entire life. However, this book is so good that, like, I want to. Because, like, this book single-handedly got me interested in the time period of the Crusades. And there's obviously so many details that I forgot, but I want to like remember them. And like this book is so well written. It's so detailed, a perfect overview of those time periods. I'm gonna reread a 700-page nonfiction book. Are you such a moron? Are you such an idiot? Yes, yes, yes. It's a great book, and if you haven't read it, I highly recommend it because I'm gonna read it twice before you even read it once. The Crusades by Thomas Asbridge. It's on the list. Oh my god, and I'm knocking the camera over. Final book is one I talked about at length in one of my videos last week. The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. After I was done talking about that book and how influential it was for me about like reading classics and really like getting into like that kind of genre of like classic literature, it made me itch. It made me itch for a reread. I haven't read this since high school, and like I said in that video, it had such a profound impact on my reading journey that I feel like I should read it again. And this isn't the edition I read too. It's like almost like it's like a more old-timey edition. Like the cover is kind of like that. It is Penguin, so like whatever. But like the pages do that thing where it's like not like cut evenly. I don't know if you could like, if you know what I'm talking about. I don't know why they do that. Is it for aesthetic, or is it like the way they make it? Is it the type of paper? I know nothing about printing presses, but it just makes me feel like I'd be so smart if I read it. I'd be so smart if I did. So I gotta reread it. That's the list, guys. It's literally just those 4 books, but they are all big books, and I simply do not have time to read any of them. So really, I'm just torturing myself, I guess. You guys ever seen the movie? You guys ever seen the movie About Time? It's like a rom-com, but it's like about I forget the actor's name. He's in a bunch of stuff, but like he finds out from his dad that his family, the men in his family, have the ability to like go back in time to like moments of their lives. So like he like does like fall in love with a girl and like retry their first date and stuff like that. It's like a rom-com, but it's a reveal that his dad uses that power so that he has more time to read books. Isn't that weird? Isn't that amazing? Aren't you envious? So like every scene of the book, every scene of the movie, he's reading a different book, even if it's like continuous scenes, because that's what he uses his power for. I'm just telling you because I'm jealous, that's all. And if you haven't seen that movie, I highly recommend it too. That's a tearjerker for sure. I'm not gonna tell you why though, because I'm not here to spoil movies for you. As you can tell, my mental strength is at its peak today. But really, I'm just floundering. I'm floundering, right? Because there's so many books. There's too many books in existence. And someone, quite frankly, should erase them from existence. Because there's less. If there's less, then I could read them all. It's sad. It's so sad. That's all I got for you guys. If you like this kind of video, be sure to like and subscribe. Because, you know, the more you like and the more you subscribe, the more I'll read. Thanks for sticking around.